differently now, unlike what I used to believe about the place. I think Sokoto is better than the narrative we get outside. It's a lovely place. Please appreciate yourself. Beneath, beyond, and above. It's a very important topic, and I'm happy to speak about it today. But I'll be linking into moving Africa from problems to prosperity. That's exactly what I'll be talking about. If there must be consumption, there must be production. That's the truth. So if there is production, jobs and economic prosperity will not be far away from us, true of us. Because when somebody produces, you have to employ people. And when you employ people, they earn salary. When they earn salary, government collects it as taxes, and government can use the money in form of government expenditure to provide us with road, etc., etc. So supply creates its own demand. That was what Baptiste said. He said he's an economist. He said whether or not you produce or consume as a continent, 21st century war is no longer the war of military might. It's a war of economic dominance. That is why when a country offends one of the superpower, the first thing such superpower will do is we are cutting our trade relationship with you. So Africa, rather than understanding the reality of the 21st century, still wants to find oil all over the continent. We still believe that our people should be farming. We still believe that when we have 80%, according to the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, 80% of agriculture, which comes from crop production, we believe that we are doing well. Crude oil prices is rising. And because of that, we say, yes, our economy is recovering at 1.4%. Now, the question is, where are the jobs? Where are the jobs? Are the jobs available at the rig? Or the jobs are available in the refineries? Where are the jobs? Let me give us statistics. Senegal made 2 billion naira, 2 billion US dollars, I beg your pardon, by exporting cocoa to some companies in Canada. One of the companies that the country exported cocoa to realized 18 billion US dollars in profit. Senegal's farmers, cocoa farmers, who work, and at 45, they were already looking 80. Meanwhile, the consultants at the conversion process, at 40, they look 35. So African is fixated on natural resource, on what God has provided, without adding value to it. So do you wonder why we are where we are? Do you wonder where the jobs are? So when we consistently consume what we don't produce, or cannot produce a complete cycle of products, or what we produce is inadequate for our local demand, talk less of meeting global requirements, then our economy will be beneath. Underdeveloped, and always requiring foreign support. It therefore implies that we are consuming our jobs in form of products. We are consuming them, or at best, we're exporting them to the rest of the world. And when we export them, we now hope that the rest of the world will come back to give us foreign aids in form of USAID. Because they earn, they convert, so we should hope on them, UKA, to support us by fighting HIV/AIDS. That era is long gone. So import takes different dimensions these days, and I know we have ladies here. So what ladies import right now is Telemundo. What happened to African magic? What happened to Nollywood? And for guys, European sports. So by 2 today, Saturday, this all could be empty when Chelsea is playing one of the clubs. So we kept importing and importing and importing. From sport is no longer product, even service. So that is what is changing. That is what is taking U-turn all over African continent. I agree completely, because some persons will say, I've seen what economists have said around the globe, argument they've made for competitive cost advantage, that no country can survive on its own. You must depend on some country for what you don't have. I agree completely on the theory of competitive advantage, but I disagree. I disagree that Africa as a continent must consistently provide only input factor. I disagree with that. I believe that Africa should not just provide crude oil for some other country to refine for us. I disagree with that. I also disagree that Africa should make cola nuts for another person to convert it to a finished product. I also disagree with that. I disagree with those theories. I believe that Africa can complete a production from cocoa to coffee, then export it to countries that are consuming. That will expand our effects, that's foreign exchange, and also put plenty jobs here in Nigeria, or put plenty jobs in Senegal, plenty jobs in all over African continent. We really do not need to wait. We really do not need to say we should export only primary product, which is what is happening. So you see a lot of people farming, but when you look at them, there is nothing to show for it. Recently I was in Castina, a region blessed with cotton, but most of the farmers there don't have enough money to buy cotton material to wear. Why? Because when they export those cotton, they are paid next to nothing. That's exactly what we have here. So let me give you statistics of what UN is saying about African continent, particularly countries that are producing input factor to the rest of the world. UN Human Development Index says it all. Of 188 countries rated, top 105 countries were either very developed or highly undeveloped. Sad enough, of these 105, no one African country was one of them. However, there were another one between 106 to 147. There were a few African countries such as Botswana, Gambia, Egypt, South Africa, Ghana, to mention, and a few others. At the very least, the very bottom of 148 to 188 was where African countries gained dominance. They were predominantly Africa, such as Nigeria. So the question we ask is why? The answer is this: when economics or countries or individual depend on land, and economics, when we say land, we are referring to natural resources. When you depend on sunlight to dry your clothes, when you depend on rain to irrigate your farms, when you depend on crude oil for your major revenue of about 80% of your revenue, then you're bound to have issues. Also, as individual, when you wait for one big man coming from Abuja to bring the economic rainmaker to come back to Sokoto, or come back to Arkilla, or come back to anywhere all over Africa, for the person to come and bring the good news or to bring the goodies of democracy to you, it really doesn't work that way. So you see our youth, they sleep between 7 to 10 hours. And I've said it, anybody in this generation that sleep between 7 hours to 10 hours can never lead us. And if you're a woman, you spend up to 3 hours, or a man with television. I'm sorry. You cannot be the leader of your generation. You know why? By the time you are 30, you are sleeping for 10 hours, or you are sleeping for 8 hours. It means that you have slept for 10 years. It's not a life well lived, it's a life well slept. So when you sleep by 10 a.m. and you wake up by 10 p.m., I beg your pardon, and you wake up by 6 a.m., you have slept away your life. So you now use 3-4 hours over the weekend to watch television of people that cannot add directly to your life. The question is, do you want to be a footballer or you want to be a superstar there? Africa needs to focus. We need to change our narratives. We need to do things differently. So when economics or an individual primarily depends on land, like I said earlier, without value addition, they remain only among their contemporary, competitive cost advantage irrespective. The Central Bank of Nigeria has this to say to us, that crude oil is responsible for about 80% of our foreign exchange. And in fact, most African countries belong to this category. At best, regarded as input factor without adding any value. One would wonder why, could it be a coincidence that countries such as Nigeria, Senegal, Togo, Zimbabwe, Niger, Angola, and the likes, which depends on crude oil, agriculture, other input factors, have widespread poverty. They have unemployment, they have huge underemployment. There is hunger. Hunger is written on the faces of the people. Large underdevelopment. On the other hand, Singapore, United Arab Emirates, China, Germany, these are countries with competencies in manufacturing, industrialization, trade, tourism, human capital development. They have very little development issues. Israel does not have any natural resource. Saudi Arabia, crude oil, and what else? United Arab Emirates, in the middle of desert. But they brought tourism. They brought trade. That's what those countries have done. So they are better than countries that have all the natural resources you can imagine is available in Nigeria. But we just want to take without value addition, which is where the job, of course, is created. Just remember that each time you consume things, each time you take anything, you are sustaining people a job. So if it's a bottle of drink you took, if it's this microphone I'm using to talk, if it's this clothes you wear, anything you wear at all, you are sustaining someone to be a job. So the question is, where is the job? The job will be where those things are manufactured, true or false? So now, are the jobs here with you, or the jobs are elsewhere? Where are the jobs? That's the question. So to keep the jobs here, there are things that we must do. Government have responsibility, no doubt. This is my own idea. My idea is completing a production-consumption cycle. That is, ensure that if you have primary inputs in abundance in the location, try and bring factory to convert those things into finished product. So what we should be exporting going forward, they are not primary product, but finished product. I understand we cannot possibly produce all that we need, no. But part of what we need is what we can produce, and we exchange the excess of those things for what the rest of the world can produce for us. I have the following submission. First, policymakers must consider policy mix, a fiscal policy which have implication on government expenditure, put road infrastructure in place, and monetary policymakers should also consider single-digit loan facility, particularly for small businesses who may like to go into conversion process, which is what we need right now. And also trade as well as physical policy, which have implication on manufacturing as well as agro-processing. This may include tax incentives, provision of land with CEO, certificate of occupancy, etc., etc. Or second, we need to also consider human capital development. And when I say human capital development, I mean building education. Recently, the Nigerian government presented a budget to the National Assembly. The portion of education there is only 8%. Health is less than 5%. Now, UNESCO says if you want your economy to grow fast or develop in terms of education, you need 26%. Abuja Declaration talks about 15% for health. So how do we build healthy working population? That is what we may not have in the coming period from what is presented. So for us to look at this, I also think government should reduce the burden government is carrying, particularly as it has to do with the current expenditure. A lot of money goes to civil service, and I think government should make a voluntary civil service retirement for those people who may not be willing to work for government anymore. And that can only happen when we have fixed power and we have fixed infrastructure, so that they can diversify and see and go into what they think may be very good for them. From observation, nations that are above are significant for at least one thing. For Germany, it is machine. It is rooted in vocational education. For China, it is industrialization. It is rooted in the division of labor, economies of scale, and specialization. For America, it is technology. It is rooted in knowledge and the need for security. For United Arab Emirates, it is rooted in tourism and trade, as well as the need to dilute contribution of oil into national revenue and GDP. Just to mention a few, what must I say is a thing for Africa? Or particularly, what must I say Nigeria is rooted in? So when you identify what you are rooted in, or what Africa is rooted in, then we can now talk about the development and the prosperity we want for our people. So for these countries, They are responsible not just for their population, but they are responsible for the entire global demand. So I'm convinced that to stay above and remain dominant among the community of nations, we must abandon our selfish interests of self-satisfaction and political shenanigans. We must be willing to solve global problems. Global problems which include hunger, poverty by feeding the world, technological gap, infrastructural gap, health, education, just to mention a few. This can only be done when we have solved our local problem, and in all of these, I say, there will be no chance for us to be great nations as in our continent, Africa, without first solving our problems. Because it is by solving this problem that we can grow from beneath to beyond. And when we have solved them carefully and we can solve it from the rest of the world, then we remain above. Thank you so very much. I will see you in the future.